The battlefield was silent now. Smoke rose from the ruins of what was once a shining alien city. Buildings that had touched the clouds now stood broken, their metal frames glowing red from the fires that refused to die. The sky was gray with ash and rain began to fall. Slow, heavy drops that hissed when they hit the burning ground. Sergeant Eli Graves walked through the wreckage, his boots sinking into black mud mixed with alien blood and steel dust. His armor was cracked, his left arm burned, but he kept moving. The war was supposed to be over, yet the screams of dying soldiers, human and alien alike, still echoed in his head. Beside him, his loyal dog Rex, a cybernetic German shepherd, sniffed the ground, growling softly. The dog's sensors picked up movement, but there was no danger, only faint life signs. Then Eli heard it. A weak, broken whisper carried through the rain. "Please." "And my pain," he froze. The voice wasn't human. It was soft, trembling, and filled with fear. He followed the sound, stepping over twisted metal and shattered glass, until he found a collapsed structure that had once been an alien home. Inside, half buried under debris, lay a Velrian, one of the enemy. She was small, young, her skin pale blue and her body covered in bruises and blood. Her eyes, silver like starlight, flickered weakly as she looked up at him. Every bone in her body seemed broken. Her breathing was shallow and uneven. Her voice cracked again. "Please, kill me." Eli's hand moved toward his rifle. The order was clear. Eliminate all surviving Velrians. No exceptions. But something stopped him. She wasn't reaching for a weapon. She wasn't fighting. She was crying. Real tears mixed with the rain on her face. Rex walked closer, sniffed her, then did something unexpected. He licked her hand gently. The girl blinked in confusion. Eli lowered his weapon. For a moment, the war faded away. He was no longer a soldier surrounded by orders and blood. He was just a human standing over another broken life. He knelt beside her and pulled the debris away. Her body shook in pain. Her clothes and torn gray fabric and were stained dark. He tried to cover her with his blanket, but when he lifted the corner of it, he froze. Underneath, her chest glowed faintly, a strange, gentle light pulsing beneath her skin. It wasn't a wound. It was something else. At the center of her chest was a mark, a human mark. The emblem of the United Earth Fleet burned into her flesh. Eli's eyes widened. "No, that's impossible." She looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "They made us from you." Her words hit like a thunderclap. The Velrians, humanity's greatest enemy, were not born aliens. They were created by humans. Eli's breath caught. His mind raced. He had seen secret files about genetic experiments, long-abandoned projects where humans tried to engineer superior soldiers. But this was real. He pressed a hand to his helmet, opening his comlink. "Command, this is Sergeant Graves. I found a survivor. She's different. She's got a human signature on her DNA, I think." The radio crackled. A cold voice replied, "Leave the target. Cleanse the area." No survivors, static. Then silence. Eli stared at the alien girl. Her eyes were half closed now, her breathing faint. She whispered again, "Please, just end it." He looked at Rex, who sat beside her, whining softly. "Not today," Eli said quietly. He turned off his radio. "No one's dying today." He wrapped the girl gently in his blanket, lifting her carefully into his arms. The rain fell harder now, washing the blood from his armor. In the distance, the sound of human drones echoed, scanners sweeping the ruins, hunting for life. If they found him protecting an enemy, they would execute him for treason. Eli didn't care. He took one last look at the broken city, the graves of both sides. "We started this war," he muttered. "Maybe it's time someone ended it." As he walked into the storm, Rex trotted close, his red eyes scanning the shadows. Lightning flashed across the sky, lighting the ruins in white fire. In his arms, the alien girl stirred. Her faint pulse glowed brighter, reacting to his warmth. For the first time, she whispered a different word, one that made Eli stop in his tracks. "Human." The word was soft, full of wonder, not hate. Eli looked down at her and whispered back, "You're safe now." But deep down he knew. Nothing about this was safe. The moment he lifted that blanket, he had uncovered something that could destroy the lies humanity had built for centuries. And in the ruins of a war, one soldier had just chosen compassion over orders. a choice that would change the galaxy forever. The storm didn't stop. Lightning flashed across the ruined sky as Eli Graves carried the wounded alien girl through the flooded streets. His armor was heavy, his muscles ached, but he refused to stop. Each breath she took was weaker than the last. Her faint pulse glowed beneath her skin like a dying star. Rex, limping from an earlier explosion, stayed close, scanning every shadow with his red sensor eyes. The city around them was dead. Burned-out towers, shattered bridges, and the smell of ozone from plasma fire still hung in the air. Eli found shelter in what was once an alien temple. Its walls were covered in carvings, strange symbols that looked almost human, circles and spirals that resembled DNA strands. Inside, the air was still and cold. He laid the girl on the floor and tore off a piece of his uniform to stop her bleeding. She trembled, whispering words in a broken language, half human, half alien. Then in perfect English she said, "They made us, your people." Eli frowned. "What do you mean?" Her silver eyes opened slightly, filled with pain. "Humans came long ago. They said we were evolution. We trusted them." She coughed, blood staining her lips. "They left. When the sky burned," Eli's stomach twisted. He remembered old stories, hidden military archives about Project Genesis, an experiment to improve humanity by adapting human DNA to alien environments. The project was canceled after failures, but what if it hadn't been? He looked at her glowing chest mark. The United Earth Fleet emblem burned into her skin. "They didn't cancel it," he whispered. "They abandoned it." Rex whined as if agreeing. Eli activated his wrist scanner. The device confirmed what he feared, 47% human genetic match. That meant she wasn't their enemy. She was their creation. He leaned back against the cold wall, trying to breathe. "God, what did we do?" She looked at him again, voice weak. "They called us weapons, but we called each other family." Her words hit harder than any bullet. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed outside, a mechanical hum. Drone scouts. They were searching for survivors, programmed to kill anything moving. Eli switched off his scanner, grabbed his rifle, and crouched near the doorway. The drone's red lights swept across the ruins like hunting eyes. He waited for them to pass, but one beam stopped, right on the temple entrance. Eli cursed under his breath. "Rex, distraction mode." The cyber dog growled low, then bolted out the side entrance, knocking over debris and drawing the drones away. Plasma bolts flashed as the machines chased him. Eli turned back to the girl. "I'll come back for him." "Hold on." She tried to speak, but her voice was fading fast. Her glowing chest flickered like a dying ember. Eli ripped open his medical pack, injecting her with a human stim shot. The liquid hissed through her veins, stabilizing her heartbeat. She gasped and clutched his hand tightly. Her touch was cold, yet her skin felt almost human. "What, are you helping me?" she asked softly. Eli didn't answer right away. He thought of the faces he had seen in war. Civilians, children, soldiers who believed they were doing the right thing. None of them looked different when they died because, he said finally, if we destroy everything that isn't us, what's left of humanity? Tears formed in her silver eyes. No human ever said that before. A loud explosion shook the temple. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Dust filled the air. Eli shielded her with his body as debris crashed around them. He coughed and looked toward the door. Rex's signal blinked on his wrist monitor. Weak but alive. They had no time. He lifted the girl again, ignoring the pain in his arms. "We're leaving. You're not dying here." Outside, fire still burned in the streets. Eli moved fast, darting between walls, staying low. The rain washed the blood from his armor but couldn't wash away the guilt now buried in his heart. He looked down at her peaceful face and whispered, "If they made you, then they owe you a life, not death." The girl stirred, her voice fragile but clearer now. "You'd have kind eyes, human." Eli smiled sadly. "That's rare these days." In the distance, he saw the remains of an old medical facility, ancient Earth tech from the first colonies. He could use it to save her, maybe even learn the truth about her kind. But he also knew that once he entered that place, there would be no going back. The data inside could destroy humanity's reputation forever. Still, Eli made his choice. He adjusted her in his arms and walked toward the glowing ruins of the hospital, whispering to himself, "If mercy is treason, then let me be a traitor." And with that, he vanished into the storm, carrying both a dying alien and the truth humanity had buried long ago. The city had turned into a maze of shadows and smoke. Eli Graves moved through it quietly, carrying the wounded alien girl close to his chest. Her breathing was soft but steady now, the faint glow from her body lighting the path like a heartbeat in the dark. Behind him, thunder rolled. Far away, plasma cannons fired again, shaking the ground. The war wasn't over. It had just shifted shape. Eli kept to the narrow streets, stepping over broken glass and fallen drones. His cyber dog Rex limped beside him, one leg damaged, sparks flickering from the joint. Still, the loyal machine refused to leave his side. They reached a burned-out transport station, twisted rails, melted doors, and a long tunnel leading underground. It smelled like wet metal and smoke. For now, it was the only safe place left. Eli gently set the girl down against a wall. Her silver eyes fluttered open. "Where are we?" she whispered. "Somewhere safe," Eli replied, checking the tunnel entrance for movement. "For now." She watched him in silence for a moment, then asked, "Why do you risk your life for me?" He looked at her, his eyes tired. "Because you don't deserve to die for what others did." Her gaze softened. "Humans made us suffer," she said. "But you are not like them." Eli didn't answer. He looked at the burning horizon through a hole in the wall. "We all follow orders until one day we realize the orders are wrong." A sudden sharp sound cut through the silence, a scanner's hum. Red light swept across the tunnel entrance. Eli cursed under his breath and grabbed his rifle. "They found us." He scooped the girl into his arms and ran deeper into the tunnels, Rex running ahead, scanning for an exit. The echo of metal footsteps followed, search drones armed with kill protocols. The tunnel twisted left, then down a staircase that ended in a flooded chamber. Ancient lights flickered on the ceiling, revealing faded markings, symbols of the United Earth Fleet. Eli stopped. "This place," he whispered. "It's human-made." The girl looked up weakly. "Your people built this long ago. They said it was for protection. But it was our prison." Her words filled him with cold dread. He looked around again. The symbols were not of hope or unity. They were experiment codes, Rex barked once, alerting him. A group of drones approached from behind, their red optics glowing in the darkness. Eli set the girl down carefully. "Stay behind me." The first drone fired. Plasma bolts tore through the air. Eli ducked, firing back with sharp precision. One shot, one kill. Another drone exploded, metal raining across the tunnel. But there were too many. Rex leapt forward, slamming into one of the drones, his jaws locking around its neck. Sparks flew as both crashed into the water. "Rex!" Eli shouted. The dog didn't stop fighting. Even as the drone's blaster burned into his metal side, he tore it apart with one final bite. Eli fired again, destroying the last drone. Smoke filled the air. The tunnel fell silent except for dripping water and Rex's mechanical whimper. Eli ran to his companion, kneeling beside him. "You did good, boy. You did so good." He stroked Rex's head gently as the red lights in the dog's eyes dimmed. The alien girl crawled closer, placing her glowing hand on Rex's chest. A soft light pulsed, flowing from her fingers into his metal body. The broken circuit sparked, and then slowly the dog's lights flickered back to life. Eli stared in disbelief. You healed him?" She smiled faintly. "Not healed. Shared my energy. It will not last long." Eli helped her stand. "Then we move before it fades." They followed the tunnel deeper until they reached a massive steel door marked Genesis Laboratory. The faded human logo was still visible. Eli ran his hand across the cold metal. "This is it. The place where it all began." The girl's voice trembled. "Yes, this is where we were born. Where your kind decided who deserved to live." Eli's heart pounded. The truth was right behind this door. He could feel it. He turned to her. "If we open this, there's no going back." She met his eyes. "You already crossed that line when you chose mercy." Eli nodded. He placed his palm on the old scanner. To his surprise, it recognized his DNA. Human access still worked. The door hissed open with a long metallic groan. A cold wind rushed out, carrying the scent of dust and forgotten machines. Inside, dim blue lights flickered to life, revealing rows of cryo-tanks filled with shadows. Not quite human, not quite alien. The girl stepped closer, whispering in awe and pain. "My family." Eli looked at her, then at the silent chambers. He realized the war had never been about alien versus human. It was about humanity trying to erase its sins. And now, in this dead city, one soldier and one broken girl were about to bring the truth back to light. Inside the Genesis laboratory, time itself seemed frozen. Rows of glass tubes lined the vast underground chamber, stretching into the shadows. Each tank held the faint outline of a body. Not fully human, not fully alien. Machines hummed softly, still alive after centuries, powered by buried reactors that refused to die. Eli Graves walked slowly between the rows, his flashlight beam trembling across names carved into the glass. Subject 47, Subject 61, Subject 82. Some had small handprints against the glass, forever frozen in place. Beside him, the blue-skinned girl moved with quiet steps. Her hand brushed one of the tanks, and it flickered to life for a brief second. Inside, a memory projection appeared. A holographic image of scientists in white suits, humans, adjusting dials while frightened children cried inside the tubes. Her voice shook. They called it evolution. But we were only experiments. Eli's jaw tightened. He wanted to deny it, but the truth stared back at him from every glowing panel. We did this, he whispered. Humans did this. The girl nodded weakly. Your people came here generations ago. They said they would make soldiers who could survive anywhere. They made us stronger, faster, but when war ended, they left. The rest of us learned to hate the stars. Her voice cracked, and Eli saw tears in her silver eyes again. She wasn't just a survivor. She was a living scar of human arrogance. Rex, the cyberdog, sat nearby, his sensors scanning the room. His body still sparked slightly from damage, but he remained silent, like he understood the gravity of the place. Eli looked at an active console glowing faintly in the center of the room. Dust covered its surface. He brushed it off and tapped the power switch. The screen flickered and then displayed old human text. Project Genesis status. Terminated classification. Omega level failure. But beneath it, another window opened on its own. A recorded voice spoke, calm, male, human. To whoever finds this, know that we tried. The Velrians were meant to save humanity, not replace it. But when the Council saw what they became, too human, too emotional, they ordered them erased. We followed orders. I still hear their screams. The message cut off, leaving only static. The girl closed her eyes. That was the day the sky burned. That was the day your kind destroyed our home. Eli stared at the console. He imagined terrified scientists running, soldiers obeying orders, and children trapped inside glass. The guilt felt like a weight crushing his chest. He turned to her. You didn't ask to be born. You didn't deserve this. She looked at him sadly. No one deserves to be created just to die. Eli took a deep breath. Then we'll show them the truth. He began typing commands into the console, searching for any data he could recover. Files began to appear. DNA logs, mission reports, and images of human officers signing termination orders. He transferred everything to his data chip. The evidence was enough to expose the lie, to prove that the Velrians weren't monsters, just victims of human pride. But as he worked, the ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Rex growled, warning him. Alarms flickered red across the lab walls. Unauthorized access detected, the system announced. Security units activated. Eli swore under his breath. We need to go now. The girl stood weakly. You have the truth? He nodded, sliding the chip into his suit. Yeah. Enough to change everything. The distant sound of heavy footsteps echoed. Drones, dozens of them, descending through the tunnels. Eli raised his rifle. They can't have it. The girl stepped forward, touching one of the broken pods. There is another way. The glass cracked open, revealing an ancient machine connected to all the tanks. A memory network, glowing with faint blue light. This system holds every image, every sound, every memory of what they did to us, she said. If we link it to your armor's transmitter, the whole galaxy will see. Eli hesitated. You'll overload it. It'll kill you, she smiled faintly. Maybe, but at least they'll finally know who we are. Rex barked as the first drone entered the chamber. Eli fired, taking it down. Sparks filled the air. The girl reached out her hand. Trust me, human. He looked into her eyes, pain, strength, hope, then took her hand. All right, let's end this lie. She placed her other hand on the machine. Light erupted, flooding the lab in brilliant white. The screens flickered with memories. Children laughing, soldiers screaming, cities burning. And somewhere deep in the chaos, the story of what humanity did began to awaken. The explosion of white light faded into chaos. Warning alarms screamed through the Genesis laboratory. Blue sparks danced across the shattered pods as the ancient systems overloaded. Smoke curled from the broken glass and the floor vibrated beneath Eli Graves's boots. He coughed, blinking through the haze. The alien girl still stood beside the glowing machine, her body trembling from the surge of energy. Her skin shimmered faintly with light as if she was now connected to the entire network itself. "Stop!" Eli shouted. "You're draining yourself." Her voice was calm, almost distant. "The truth must live, even if I don't." Before Eli could reach her, the heavy blast door at the far end of the chamber split open. A squad of human soldiers stormed inside, armor polished, visors glowing red. Their commander's voice echoed sharply through the noise. "Sergeant Graves, step away from the alien. You are under arrest for treason." Eli raised his weapon but didn't fire yet. His heart pounded. These were his own people, his brothers in arms. He had fought beside them, bled beside them. Now they aimed their guns at him. The commander's voice hardened. "Orders are clear. Terminate the experiment and cleanse the site." Eli took a step back, standing between them and the girl. "You don't understand. She's human, part of us. They lied to us." The soldiers hesitated for a brief second, confusion flickering across their faces. But then the commander barked, "Fire!" The first plasma bolt hit the console beside Eli, sending shards of metal across the floor. The second scorched the wall inches from his head. Rex leapt forward growling, and Eli finally returned fire. The chamber erupted in chaos. Bolts of blue and red energy filled the air. The sound of gunfire echoed off the steel walls. Eli moved fast, ducking behind equipment, firing short bursts. One soldier fell, then another. Rex tore into a third, metal teeth ripping through armor. But the enemy kept coming. Disciplined. Relentless. Amid the gunfire, the alien girl knelt beside the glowing core. Her voice rose above the chaos. "Eli, I can send the data to the stars, but I need time." "How much?" he shouted, reloading. 2 minutes, he cursed under his breath. "Then I'll buy you 2 minutes." He ran into open fire, rolling behind a pod and shooting at the nearest soldier. A plasma bolt grazed his arm. Pain shot through his nerves, but he didn't stop. "Graves, stand down," the commander yelled. "You're defending a monster," Eli shouted back, voice raw. "The only monsters here are the ones following blind orders." For a moment, silence followed. Even the commander hesitated. Then he whispered something Eli couldn't hear, and another wave of soldiers poured in. Eli threw a flash grenade. Light filled the room, blinding everyone. Rex charged forward, slamming into one of the soldiers. Eli followed, tackling another and pulling the trigger point blank. His rifle clicked empty. He grabbed a fallen sidearm, still firing. Sweat and blood ran down his face. Then, a blinding pulse of blue light filled the lab. The alien girl screamed, her body glowing brighter than before. The core had reached overload. The memory of every experiment, every death, every scream was now being transmitted into the sky. To every human satellite still orbiting above. Images flashed across the monitors. Children behind glass. Scientists arguing, soldiers marching. The truth humanity had buried for centuries now set free. The soldiers stopped firing. Some dropped their weapons, staring in horror at what they saw. The commander looked around, stunned. What is this?" Eli stood, wounded but defiant. "This is what we did. This is what you're protecting." The girl collapsed to her knees, light pouring from her eyes and hands. "It's done," she whispered. "They will know." Eli rushed to her side, catching her before she fell. Her skin was burning hot, the glow dimming with each breath. Rex limped toward them, whining softly. "You did it," Eli said softly. "You saved them all?" She smiled weakly. "No, you did. You chose mercy." Her hand fell away, her light fading into the air. The core behind her powered down with a low hum, leaving only silence. The commander stepped closer, lowering his weapon. His voice trembled. "What have we done?" Eli didn't answer. He laid the girl gently on the ground and closed her eyes. Then he looked up at the humans around him. Soldiers, killers, witnesses. "We can't undo the past," he said quietly. "But we can stop repeating it." Outside, the rain began to fall again, washing the ashes from the sky. Silence fell over the ruins of Genesis Laboratory. Only the soft hum of dying machines and the steady patter of rain could be heard through the shattered ceiling. The air smelled of burned metal and wet stone. Blue light flickered on the walls, the final echoes of the broadcast still pulsing weakly before fading into darkness. Sergeant Eli Graves knelt beside the alien girl's body. Her skin had turned pale, the glow in her veins gone. She looked peaceful now, as if the pain had finally ended. He brushed a strand of silver hair from her face and whispered, "You did it. You made them see." Rex sat beside him, silent, tail barely moving. The loyal machine dog seemed to understand the battle was over. But the cost had been everything. Then, through the cracked walls of the facility, a low rumble began to grow. Engines, dropships. The sound of heavy turbines echoed across the dead city. Eli stood, clutching his rifle, though his body screamed with exhaustion. "They're coming," he murmured, "to clean the mess." Moments later, the ceiling above burst open as searchlights cut through the rain. Human soldiers rappelled down, weapons ready, but this time no one fired. Their visors flickered as data streamed into their helmets, the same broadcast the girl had released. Every soldier saw the truth, the human experiments, the suffering, the betrayal. Their commander landed last, removing his helmet slowly. His face was pale, his voice shaking. "It's everywhere, Graves. Every ship, every outpost. Even the council has seen it." Eli's voice was rough. "Good. Then they'll finally know what they've been fighting." The commander looked at the still body on the floor. "What was she?" Eli stared at her one last time. "She was hope. Something we forgot we could be." For a long moment no one spoke. The soldiers lowered their weapons, glancing uneasily at one another. The enemy they had been taught to fear was gone, replaced by the truth of their own guilt. Then the ground shook again, not from the storm above, but from below. The reactor core beneath the lab began to pulse with unstable energy. The overload from the transmission had damaged its containment. Alarms blared. A computer voice echoed through the chamber. "Warning. Reactor critical. Collapse in 4 minutes." Eli's eyes widened. "We need to move." The commander shouted orders, but the exit tunnel had caved in from earlier explosions. There was no way out. Eli looked down at the girl, her hand still faintly glowing where she had touched the console. He understood. She had linked herself to the power core before she died. A final connection remained, her life force woven into the machine. He turned to the others. "There's a chance. I can stabilize it. Use her link to release the energy harmlessly." The commander hesitated. "That's suicide." Eli gave a tired smile. "Maybe, but she gave everything to show the truth. The least I can do is make sure it survives." He removed his helmet and stepped toward the reactor chamber. Rex followed, limping beside him. The soldiers tried to stop him, but he didn't listen. Inside, the air crackled with blue light. The walls glowed as energy bled from the damaged core. Eli placed his hand on the console, warm, alive. For a second, he felt her presence again, a soft whisper in his mind. "You kept your promise, human." He smiled faintly. "Couldn't let you down, could I?" The core pulsed brighter, the light surrounding him like a sunrise. Outside the room, the soldiers shielded their eyes as the glow turned blinding. Then came a single earth-shaking pulse, not of destruction, but of light. It swept across the entire city, through the clouds, into the stars. When the light faded, the storm was gone. The city stood silent under a calm, glowing sky. The reactor was quiet. The soldiers entered the chamber cautiously. There was no explosion, no fire, only a strange, peaceful energy filling the air. In the center of the room, Eli's armor lay beside Rex's silent frame. The metal was etched with a new symbol, the same one burned into the alien girl's skin. The mark of unity. The commander removed his helmet, staring in awe. He did it. Above, the sky shimmered with blue waves of light, a signal spreading across the galaxy. It carried no words, only images. Humans and Velrians together, laughter, peace, forgiveness. Across the stars, fleets stopped fighting. Weapons powered down. Worlds that had once burned in war now watched the message of one soldier and one alien girl who refused to obey cruelty. They called it the Unthinkable Act. Not of war, but of mercy. Years later, children on distant colonies would hear the story. Of the soldier who disobeyed orders, of the alien who begged for death but gave life instead, and of a dog who stayed until the last heartbeat. In time, that story became legend, and whenever the stars glowed faintly blue, people said it was her, the girl who once whispered for pain to end, watching over the galaxy she helped heal, reminding all of them what humanity truly means.